Baby girl. Baby girl. Sasa. When one at 10. 10 yellow single. Says him for some gani. Kidogo. Na teacher you. Asi. Ili community serious. Na madam. Na sana na Good afternoon. I'm fine. We were talking about hope and determination. Yes. Did we finish for all the characters? Yes. We dealt with 3. So we can get to Chamaka. Can someone explain to us the hope and success of Chamaka? And I think you know the chapter where it comes. But you are just briefly telling us about that chapter, then you tell us the successes, which you can say even without getting to a particular place, but at least we should know the chapter where it happens. Anyone? Yes? Chamaka. What's happening? You have eaten too much. Yes? Yes, allowed a bit. Yeah? You can tell them where you are getting that information. Okay, you got it right? Yeah, so you can start from the fact that he actually preaches on the failure of the president in posting what? He posted a memo when there was a chaotic situation and riots in one part of Nigeria. And when he preached against the fact that the president never acted right, the next day he was arrested and put in jail for how long? For 2 weeks in a flea-infested place. Then after which he was actually released, but then banned from preaching in his church. The which church is it again? Church inside? Yeah. So the only hope now he has, because he was running a business, we don't know what happened because we are never told, after his vehicle is mangled. Now we see that he has to get another hope. And as she has told us, the only hope he gets is when he meets Long Way Tad, and then becomes a member of the AGDF. So out of that, how do we see him pursuing the effort to make through his hope? How does he make it through that hope? Anyone to explain? How did he make it through that hope? Because when hope comes, you have to work on it. And it comes with determination. You have to be determined towards something. Then you'll have to face achievement or success. Yes. Yeah. That one is different because that hope did not succeed. It flopped on the way. But we want to see the success in AGDA because that is the new hope he gets when he fails on the other two. How does he make it through AGDA? Yes.
At the heart of this project is the idea of mobilizing the disconnected region, Africa, and in its president, Dragon State interview. This
Where is that? Okay.
116.
But that is when he gets to meet Tad Longway. Then now what are his steps towards making it in AGDA? Yeah. He agreed to sign the contract. And we also see the arrival through chapter 1 when he goes to Banjul. The fact that he travels and goes there, we see that he indeed has made it to focus on pursuing the effort of Path Alpha. Something else when he receives the call, what does he do? In fact, we forgot that when we were talking about Karanja and also Tahir. Once he arrives, what is he, through Abiola, what does he do? Still just in that, either chapter 1 or 2, somewhere there. What does he do? After arriving in Banjul and Abiola is supposed to guide them, what does he do that can engineer the success? Anybody? If, for example, we have fathers of nation that we have to go for presentation to a given workshop, and I tell you that maybe you are day scholars, let's say. So the first thing is there is a club known as Language Club. You have registered in it. As your hope towards making it maybe in the success of that presentation. Then I've given you fathers of nation or questions. The next step should be coming out. So which step do we see Chamaka taking? And he says it on a phone that he has done it. Yeah? Just speak. Even if it's wrong, we are learning. The obedience is there, but there is something that Chamaka does when Abiola tells him to do so. Yes. Good. Can we acknowledge her? Yeah, by the way, if you are going to a workshop, you are going even to poetry competition. If you don't read or go through that poem, will you make it to present? No. So unlike the presidents, we know that the 4 travelers must read the documents, Path Alpha and Way Omega, familiarize with them so that they are able to understand why they are supposed to support Path Alpha and not Way Omega. And so we see them reading. So all of them, whenever you are dealing with any of those characters, you will have to mention that enrollment. After that, mention the arrival in Banjul for the summit. That means they are ready to follow their hope. Then the next thing is familiarizing with Path Alpha and Y Omega, among other pamphlets that were placed in their briefcase when they arrived at the hotel. After that one, the next step for Chamaka, now that they have read, what is the next step we see them pursuing in the text? Yeah. Yeah. Why are you finding it difficult? Because I don't see how difficult this is. What is the next step? Yeah. 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 So we see that Chamaka attends the summit when it's open. And when called upon to give a speech, he speaks, and somehow he then forces the heads to actually focus on him, because he announces the aspect that he has been banned from. He says, praise. Yeah, and then he says, it should be agreed in the name of, in my name. So you see that he's determined, because that confidence to stand before 50 heads of states and then say that. Then now, do we see the success? Yes. Yeah, finally, as the coin is tossed and Path Alpha wins the day, we see them celebrating. In fact, he's one of the people who said what? What did he say? Hallelujah, right? Yeah, we remember that after the victory. And then they walk away happy at the end of the text, unlike everyone else. Now the same thing should happen. Try to pursue Melusi, how he made it. Who else? Apart from Melusi? Third Longway himself, of course, the major person in this. And the determination of Third Longway is bigger than the rest. Can we talk about that, by the way, before we let the rest be? Because for Melusi, you can follow up in chapter what? Chapter 6. The fact that he had given up after the 3 incidences. But then, the success is achieved in his absence because of his message that we are going to talk about when we are discussing the vices, the use of violence, and belief in revenge. So, can we talk about Third Longway? Third Longway. You are only leaving the class to few people, which is it's not very fair to them. You are giving them a lot of tasks, some few people giving information for all of us, yet we have read the book together. We made sure we are not rushing. We even acted at some point. It's okay, go on.
This is because when the four men were at the entrance of the light that he made sure he made them look at
So the first situation is that we have to understand Third Longway is an Afrikaner. You know, Afrikaners are white in terms of their color, but they are, by nature, they were born in South Africa, so they are part of the citizens of South Africa. So they actually fight for the rights of Afrikaners and other Africans while in South Africa. So you realize that while there, he notices that Africa is ailing from 5 problems. And of course, we have seen that in chapter 3, right? When he's talking to Karanja Kimani. We also see the same shared in Unit 5 while talking to to Afolabi. So he shares clearly that Africa suffers from diseases, illiteracy, we have what else? Poverty, corruption, ignorance, and we have impunity. 5 things which require that you can only make people will to change. They willingly go for change. And for them to willingly go for change, we see that he has come up with this document known as Path Alpha, which is strong in implementation, but it may be weak in its ideas, but there it's going to make people actually transform. So, for him to pursue that hope, that Africa will no longer have those kind of things, he now has to begin a journey of determination. And his journey drives him to 4 different nations. In fact, 5, because when he goes to Boston, his intention was to meet Abiola. But then he knew the only trick is to book the same plane which Afolabi has used. We see him starting with Karanja, coming all the way from South Africa to Kenya to convince him that he's someone who can speak for Path Alpha. Then we see him next going to which nation? Yes? Huh? After Kenya, where did he go to? No, Boston was the last. In the text it's arranged differently, but you realize Boston was the last after he has already acquired the 4 travelers. So he started with Karanja, then was it Chamaka next? Melusi was the 3rd, I thought. After Karanja, Kimani was the next to be acquired. It's Melusi. Then after that, Chamaka, then finally Tahir. So those are, yeah. Fiona, that one comes later. But we are just following the track of who is the first. So the first is Karanja Kimani in Kenya. Then he goes to Zimbabwe. He meets Melusi. Then he goes to Nigeria. He meets Chamaka. Then he goes to Libya. He meets Saif Tahir. Then he meets this guy Afolabi on a plane from Boston. Then now he comes, when he's in Gambia, he meets now Fiona and then Nick. So we are seeing that is a determined journey. He wanted to use all method to make sure that Path Alpha has not been considered as important by the presidents, but he's going to make sure that it works. And the first thing was to pick people who believe in it, they have suffered the problems of it, and they believe that Path Alpha will help them to do, and they'll pursue it, as it was shared on a certain page. Then we also see that he makes sure that he's not the one now guarding these people. Another step is to pick who? Afolabi, and make him a guide, so that he will be making these people read whatever documents they are, also stay in the right places, because if they were drunk, you don't know how they would have behaved. Then now meeting Fiona when she is in VOA, and now getting to have her to gather information as well as bring Nick on board. Then now bringing Nick, who informs them about the trick and the processes in the entire summit. And then we see now he also requests for the observer position through Afolabi. And now we see finally that they get to have the agenda placed on the summit by the chair, and then they use the trick to actually have the matrix through Bangora and the committee, and finally it is successful. So that is one person who actually did a lot of work to make sure that he gets to where he wanted. So apart from hope and determination, what was the next virtue? Technology. Technology is very brief. Where do you see technology, and what is the success or achievement of technology? Anyone to say that? Yes? All of us know that the silent listener was the technology being used, right? How was it actually helping, or how did it help in this summit? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so the silent listener helps Fiona to establish the 5 people who are operating together. Not even 5, 6. The 6 people who are working together for AGDA. He also understands, we also see that that silent listener helps the team of AGDA to know the aspect of trick, right? And then through that technology also, they also create that aspect of choice matrix. And then when they come to present it, it looks like it's very clear when it's not. And finally, technology also helped the chair. How did it help? How did it help the chair on the second last page? Okay, you have forgot already. Only 2 people are aware. Yes. Nyie mambo ya nguo na hii shule. I've never seen a school where people, I've gone even for talks in school, sijaiona watu wetu wana request ruhusa ya kwenda kuanua nguo. You went for the lunch. That is the time you are supposed to remove clothes. But because this is bikeke, a name that I don't know what it means, you can bikeke and go. Maybe bikeke is bikekering, whatever it means. So you had said that. Game. Yeah, you can imagine if there was no panic button, how would they have saved themselves? They would have been held at ransom by one person who has a pistol, and we don't know what would have happened. If he would have shot the chair, we don't know. So technology was very important in the entire journey. Do you have any other technology apart from that? Apart from silent listener and the panic button? Yeah. Mambiram. Yeah, the projector which Mambiram was using to project the choice matrix. And maybe with time you can find more. Apart from technology, the next virtue, it is selfishness. Selfishness cannot be a virtue. Yeah? Yeah? It's a vice, right? Yeah, so let's go to vice if we have finished the virtues. So when we look at the vices, vices are the negative aspect that the society considers as bad morals, bad choices. That if we go for them, we will actually face negative consequences. Though these days I wonder, some people are stealing and becoming very rich. So how will you convince your daughter or son that that is wrong? The politicians are beating each other and they are surviving. You saw what happened in Bere, you saw what happened in Malava. After beating people so much, some people won. So how will you convince a child that it's wrong to do this? I don't know. I don't just know, because as far as we used to say violence is bad, now it's paying some people. So how will you convince people? We say corruption is bad, isn't it? But last year when I was teaching Form 4, was it Form 4 or 3? I asked some students, if you get a job in a government office where you can steal, will you steal or not? They said, I'll steal because that will make me rich. So it is becoming very tricky to actually convince people otherwise because of what we are seeing in society. But all the same, literature tells us to tell about what is there, and then people will choose what they have to choose. So when you look at the vices, of course, selfishness is one of the vices in the text. Who is selfish in this text? Who is selfish? And how is that person selfish? Or how is that group selfish? It can be a person or many. Yes? Why do you think they are selfish? If you check on the pages, maybe especially already chapter, did they tell us that in chapter 4 or where? Was it chapter 4? Chapter 3? There is chapter 4 or maybe 3, and then, yeah, chapter 3 even displays them like that, especially the Kenyan, not just presidents but politicians. But for the president, I suspect you are telling us something else. Maybe just explain even without showing.
I'm saying the president because when the other president of the other country came to his country, he
Destroyed slums, not slums, but the kiosks.
yeah.
The president of Gambia is selfish. He cleared the kiosks which, what is that? The kiosks which the citizens of his nation rely on for survival. It's unfortunate, by the way. Whenever our presidents of other nations or visitors are coming, I remember the time Obama was coming to Kenya. So many people are actually affected in Nairobi city. They had to move even street children. I don't know where they took them to. They also had to force people not to sell in some areas. And recently, of course, we saw also the property of Wamatangi was destroyed overnight. They even crashed vehicles for some people who had parked there. And it happens. You know, when they decide to evict people, it's unfortunate because those people affected are the very poor people who are surviving. So that is indeed a selfish act. What else did he do during that visitation apart from clearing the kiosks? Yes. All the water was directed to the fountain and it was supposed to run for beauty, mesmerizing the guests to see how beautiful Gambia was. That was a selfish act because now we are told that the taps were dry and citizens would not access water for all those days that the summit was running. Any other act of selfishness? Yeah.
The road receives a rare tarmac, hence attracting the police to collect bribes from.
Yeah. You now put a rare tarmac, and because you are tarmacking, now vehicles don't have a clear road to use because they create a pathway. And so because of that jam, the police now come around and they are collecting bribes. We saw that from the driver who was actually taking Fiona from the field to the VOA office. And I think you are seeing the effect of that immediately, right? Yes. Yeah, all those things we are talking about, you must be seeing the effect. Any other act of, yeah? The slum clearance. Slums are very populated with a lot of people who are struggling. So when you clear the slums, you are messing up with the lives of the people. Now that is the president of Gambia. Now let's get, you have another. Yeah, security was lost. Because again in the text we are told, immediately the summit began, we had 3 forces of police who were informed to take care of one hotel, right? Yes. So all of them now had to come around the hotel where the president is sleeping and take care of that, but leave the rest of the parts. So it becomes very dangerous for a country to see that. And again, when we go back to the part where the book started, what were we told about someone who was selling documents? He disappeared. We are not told whether he was arrested. We are just told he's disappeared. So which means maybe they dealt with him or something like that, which is very brutal. And of course, the president of Gambia was denying it, but people know well. And that is why journalists were insisting, how comes this happened? So that is a selfish act and we can see its effect. Now, for the presidents, how are they selfish? These other presidents. Yes.
In the summit, this is located in the summit where they don't want to be informed about Alpha and they just want to be shown the message they choose. They don't even care what consequences it will bring to their.
Yeah. So we realize whether it's Ibarosa is the only one that is concerned by Ibarosa, right? But when you look from Bangora, says I will not read. We see Jemba Jemba, it says, why should I even care? I have a birthright for leadership. You look at, who else? Dibonzo. He doesn't seem to really understand everything. And even the rest of the presidents, we are told they were just talking to each other. They didn't know what is going on. And after all, according to how they told us, I think it was chapter 2 or 3, that they came here to avoid troubles from their own nations. Because they know this is the land of Kunta Kinta, they had to enjoy everything around. And so they carried a lot of dignitaries. Why would a president carry a dignitary to a summit that only needs the president to attend? That is why even the allocation of houses was a problem to the president of Gambia. So that was selfish of them. Because you are supposed to understand, if you are passing a policy, how is it going to help the people back in your nation? But if you are not concerned, something is being passed, you are not even asking questions, you give few people the decision to pass through, tossing a coin, and that is over. It's unfortunate. Any other act of selfishness, maybe on the president of, we cannot say the president, yeah, the president of Nigeria. How is he selfish? And then someone should think about the leadership of Kenya. Then we talk about Zimbabwe and Libya. Yes. His nation has citizens who are jobless. Some of them have studied some courses and they have come to serve in their nation. As for him, what he cares about is the good relations between him and America. So he decides to ban the Feast of Allah. He would have just adjusted rules. Why would he not just have adjusted rules? Why did he have to close it completely and render some people jobless? That was selfish of him. And it actually rendered a lot of people to have a life that was not quite comfortable for themselves. What about that of Nigeria? Yeah, so the selfishness of the president of Nigeria even starts by the fact that people have rioted. As a president, if you want safety, you are supposed to go to that area and talk to the people, right? That's what we expect of a president. But a president who just doesn't have time to go to those people and console them, all he does is to write a memo. That one is already selfish of him. And then when people talk about it, what he has to do is to make sure that he frustrates this citizen who is talking, puts them in jail for some weeks, then bans them from preaching. That one is also selfish. And it has an impact either to the country at large or also the attitude that now Chamaka displays towards his president. That is why we see him struggling to clear himself through security so that he reaches his president and tells him, do you think I know you? What about Kenya? Kenya's leaders? They may not be president as such but the general political class in Kenya. How selfish are they within that text? Yes? Yes?
Given said that the politicians made laws that favor the economically.
And you have to state clearly that the fact that Kimani tells us that whenever the politicians are passing budgets or rather economic discussions, they normally suggest that they don't have to pay tax but keep increasing their allowances because they know salary cannot be taxed. Salary is the only thing that is taxed. Instead of now increasing salary, they increase allowances. But on the other hand, they don't campaign for better salaries for other workers, and that is why the elites, especially lecturers, now are experiencing very poor salaries. The effect actually comes to like Kimani. Kimani is poorly paid, that's why he can't maintain his vehicle, he can't have the best life, and we see how he's going through a tough moment. Any other? Yes. Yeah, the salaries of MPs are inflated all the time, while those of elites are not even considered. Then in relation to, yeah. Yeah, so in terms of health or rather urgency, we didn't have ambulances and even vehicles to offer the 999 services like when the Tuni was actually in an accident. Then we don't see security. That's why you can see Tuni is trying to take private, seminars. We also have insecurity in a manner that during that seat when they are taking ice, we see that they are supposed to hire private security. Now, what about Walomo's action? Remember, he's also a politician in Kenya. Yeah. Yeah, so when you have a problem with a politician, because a politician is secured by the name a politician, they are left scot-free, while the other citizen suffers. We see the fight between Walomo and Kimani. But at the end of the day, because of that selfish act to favor the politician, Kimani is actually punished to 6 months in jail. He is also demoted from as a full professor to a senior lecturer. Yet, we can see that we had a provocation from Walomo. Walomo had taken his wife, and he had again told him that all is God, and he will still continue to take Asia because she's important to him. So we'll proceed from there. We still have some few vices to talk about. Then we see. Maybe by tomorrow we should be finishing. When has your remedial been relocated to again?
Monday morning.
Monday morning. That's unfortunate because that one will just have to do it on your own. Morning is my sleeping and preparation time. The pace, I don't like it. I want to go.